afternoon again. My name is Sara Holoubek, and I'm here with three incredible panelists. We're going to talk about big innovation, and that is stories of innovation inside large organizations. Now, a number of speakers today talked about what does it take to be an entrepreneur, and specifically we talked about courage. And I would actually argue that that is as true inside of a large organization as it is inside or outside of large organizations. And to paraphrase this woman, her name's Lorna Kelly. She was the first female auctioneer at Sotheby's. Yesterday, she gave me this great quote, which is, "To choose the sure path is treason to the soul." And so I am thrilled to introduce Dr. Kent Bradley, Chief Medical Officer of Safeway. We're not going in order, so raise your hand so we know who you are. There we go. Dana Lowell, Director of Advanced Business Development at Faurecia, Global Works Innovation Centers. You guys have long titles. What's up with that? Gary Fingerhut, longest title, Acting Executive Director and General Manager, IT Commercialization, and there is more, but I will stop there, for the Cleveland Clinic. Gary, thank you. So to get started, I'd like to hear a little bit about each of your companies and the innovation programs within. Dana, your company, Faurecia, is like the largest company we've never heard of in a very old industry. So tell us a little bit about that and how you are developing a competency internally and also across the globe.
Sure. Faurecia is probably the largest company you've never heard of. We're the 6th largest automotive supplier in the world. And I guess the first question is, what is an automotive guy doing at a health conference? So we feel that the ultimate wearable device is the automotive car seat. And the second thing is we have an objective to have you get out of the vehicle feeling better than when you got into the vehicle. So that's really our mission from an innovation standpoint, and we're looking for technologies and platforms and innovations that we can bring into the automotive interior and provide a much more healthy and well environment for the driver and the passengers of the vehicle. And so that's what we're really driving for. We're a $25 billion company. We have facilities on every continent. Anywhere that they make cars, we have facilities there. I'm part of a global innovation team that has facilities in the heart of the automotive industry, which is Michigan. I know California does think that they're beginning to get to be the heart of the automotive industry, but it really still is in Michigan. And also in Munich, in Germany, and in Shanghai, China. And those innovation centers are regional centers that work with startups, that work with innovators, and we harvest technology and bring it into the automotive industry. My team is an incubator, so we have a cross-functional group of product development professionals. We have business people, we have technologists, we have product designers, we have engineers, we have electronic guys, and we basically work with those startups and those new technologies and harden them and get them battle ready for the transition into the automotive sector.
Okay. And Kent, let's talk about Safeway and health. How did you go into an adjacent market, and how did innovation inside of your company help you do that?
Yeah, first off, I was surprised what my Twitter handle was going to be, so I'm glad we were able to put something on there. It was at Safeway.
Oh, so is that actually your Twitter? No, that's Safeway.
No,
okay.
It's not. No, I was like, oh, that's great. So, you know, Safeway, Gio mentioned earlier, and he's not here anymore for me to give him a shout out for, and thanks to mention how Safeway was one of the early adopters of Castlight. But you know, several years ago, out of necessity, we looked at healthcare costs, and I think this is one of those illustrations of when you take a bold move and you courageously try to fix something, and you realize suddenly that you're out in front, that there might be an opportunity, and you're passionate about it, to take that into a business line. And so we've looked at it from Safeway Health. We essentially leverage the opportunity that we have internally to our company and our culture to look at innovation and try out new solutions, and then reposition that and deliver that to employers in the market who are equally minded in trying to reduce healthcare costs and improve the health of their employees.
Okay, interesting. So while the two of you have gone into an adjacent market, Gary, health is your business. And when we spoke earlier this week, I was impressed with the scale of your operation. Can you tell us a little bit about what your organization does and how it operates within Cleveland Clinic?
Absolutely. And first, let me give you some advice as the father of 5. And a 52-year-old father with a 1-year-old. Bose noise-canceling headphones are the way to go.
Wait, for me or for the other people on the airplane?
For you.
Okay.
They're not the greatest relationship builder, but they work. So, well, I represent the Cleveland Clinic Innovations Group. We are a large organization. The Cleveland Clinic is about 45,000 employees across the globe, really, everywhere from Abu Dhabi to Cleveland, which is our center, to Las Vegas and Florida and Toronto. And we are really a culture of innovation, and the goal of our innovation group is to provide better patient care. That is what we do. We take the innovations of the Cleveland Clinic and we try and commercialize them in one of two ways, either through licensing opportunities and similar to a tech transfer office, and to new companies. To date, we've formed about 63 new companies. We've created over 1,100 jobs in Northeast Ohio. We've raised over $750 million in capital for those spin-offs, and on and on. It's just been a wonderful experience. Now, the way that works is because we have over 3,000 physicians and scientists that are some of the best in the world, and it is their ideas, and simply we commercialize them. And that is what we do. We've actually taken that scale and that 13 years of history and the ability to take that, and we've built what we call an Innovation Alliance program. And we now outsource our innovation capabilities to some of the largest healthcare institutions in the country and some of the most entrepreneurial healthcare companies in the world. So innovation is a culture at the Cleveland Clinic. Our CEO, Dr. Toby Cosgrove, is one of our most prolific inventors, if not our most prolific inventor in heart and vascular. He has over 100 patents. As an organization, we filed over 1,600 patents and manage over 600 licenses. So it is a very large-scaled group of innovators.
It's an innovation machine, I might argue.
It really is.
So let's talk about the pluses of innovating inside a large organization. I'll just open up to the panelists here. What does your organization offer that one could not secure in a small startup environment? And let's just leave capital outside because we know that's sort of a given, right?
Well, from our perspective, I mean, we provide instant credibility within the automotive space. We have access to all the different OEMs that manufacture vehicles so we can get the doors open, get in. Technical skills to develop product that, you know, has to meet automotive requirements and be bulletproof. I mean, those are big pluses that, you know, a startup is typically not going to have.
You know, from my perspective, I'll use the analogy of perhaps a cruise ship and a speedboat. You know, the speedboat's there, it's agile, it's entrepreneurial, but there's only so many people on the boat and there's only so much gas. I won't get into the finance piece, but there's not a lot of resources to draw back on. And we're like a cruise ship. We have a lot of resources we can tap into. So I can go to our marketing team, we can go to our communications folks, we can leverage lots of competencies within the organization that's very important for a young company that's trying to make a difference.
Does that analogy also extend to risk tolerance? The person who drives a speedboat and the person who drives
we definitely have our compliance oversight that is a part of any large organization. So
I'll take that as a yes. Gary.
Well, for us, it's the ability to take it from the bench to the bedside. Really, that's what we offer our entrepreneurs and our inventors. They have an idea, they have a research project. Eventually, that needs to get to the patient. And we have, as you can imagine, a large institution and a large alliance group that we can take that to the bedside, whether that's through trials or you know, software. It doesn't really matter. We do a lot of devices, a lot of therapeutics, and a lot of back office functionality. So really being able to take it to the real world is just our secret sauce.
So Gary, I'm going to flip it around now. What are the challenges inside of a large organization? What are those moments when you wish you were this small startup?
Well, I am a venture capitalist by nature. I've started many companies. There's a significant difference from being a venture capitalist and being inside an organization like the Cleveland Clinic. The challenges for us really are the amount of ideas that we have to see and triage. We see over 600 a year, and we have a staff of 65 or so folks. So we have to have a very rapid and a very well-defined process to take them from one step to the other. That includes not only the efficient intake, the assessment, the evaluation, the protection of the intellectual property, the marketing, and then the commercialization and the ongoing governance of those. You know, managing 65 spinoffs and, you know, or 63 spinoffs and hiring the management team for 63 spinoffs and making sure that they're funded and that they, you know that their passion, that's a very, very challenging situation, and we are that team that does that through seed, up to round A typically. So,
Yeah, I mean, for us, we kind of created the concept of strategic distance, where we're close enough to headquarters that they can get there, but they usually call before they come. So that way we can be focused on what we want to work on, and we don't get dragged into every emergency. So it's just a way to get you the separation that you need to be successful in the innovation space.
Okay, the cruise ship.
Yeah, so ours is a little bit different. I think from our perspective, we're still fairly young. And so we still are reliant on those resources. And so I think the first, for an early stage within a large company, is really getting people to know what you're all about and why they need to be helping you. So it's just this internal stakeholder discussion that has to occur. So there's challenges along that to also demonstrate the relevancy to overall mission of the organization and how this is a true value add for the company. So that is one definite area of I think a challenge, especially on the early stages of your company. And then once you get traction of like anything, it becomes more relevant and more easy for folks to see the connection.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about startups and how they integrate with your companies, if and when they do. So we talked a little about Castlight, and Dana, we've spoken about startups in our call earlier. How do they, I think one of the challenges is that startups don't know on which door to knock, right? How do they enter? How do you guys each individually engage with startups? And obviously, Gary, it's your own staff at the Cleveland Clinic. But Dana, in particular, I'm interested in how you work with early stage companies.
Typically, we'll engage with them with some type of NRE where we'll give them development dollars to develop a proof of life concept, and our team will work with them to help make that concept feasible and viable for an automotive setting. So we'll have our facilities are basically soft landing spots for startups and entrepreneurs, so they can come in. It's a prototype capability. We have the technical capability there, and then we have the access to our OEM customers. So we'll work with them. We'll provide some level of funding so that we can fund their development effort, and then we'll work with them to help mature their concept.
How do they know that you're there, or do they know in your industry? Meaning, for example, in the healthcare space, there are a lot of healthcare startups here who are just knocking on door after door, and we don't always know which door is going to open.
Yeah, I mean, we work with incubators. We work with the government agencies, the SBIR funding. We work with lots of different venture groups, angel funding groups. So we look at probably over 1,000 companies a year, startups that we filter through. And the best of those we work with that are aligned to projects that we have.
Got it. Okay, and at Safeway?
We don't work with any particular organizations like angel funding groups. What we do is we have a persuasive proposition, and that persuasive proposition within our own employee base, we've been willing to try out new ideas and vet them and see what works. And we have the data to be able to give back to a startup on whether or not their idea actually is going to be able to be scaled outside of their smaller test and their hypothesis, whatever they're generating, into the real-world application of a diverse workforce. And so because of that and our recognition in the industry of willing to take risk, we have lots of folks just coming to us. And then, of course, you couple that with the fact that we have a distribution site of thousands of stores, 1,500 plus stores, and you have this interest in whether or not there's the natural synergy of health in those spaces. And we're used to having vendor partners always trying out new products in our stores. And so the natural connection is, what about health in that space? And so people have been coming to us, and we haven't really actively ventured out to ask individuals to come to us.
It's like a living test lab.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So Gary, continuing this theme of focus and which ideas are the good ideas and which entrepreneurs or startups do you pursue? You said something the other day that there is an individual at the Cleveland Clinic who has a bar for what's a good idea, and it was, if the idea has the potential to win 2 Nobel Prizes, not 1, 2. That's a good idea. So that bar is pretty high. So let's talk about the criteria. What are the criteria that you use, and how do you evaluate good ideas?
First and foremost, providing better patient care, number one. But we are different. We are across the street from our main campus, and we are responsible for monetizing these inventions. So we have a lot of performance metrics about driving revenue. So we take that very seriously as well. But we really have a couple of different ways of vetting concepts. We do a lot of sponsored ideation. We do a lot of unmet needs and take the best and the brightest for those areas, and we make sure that we bring them to the table to help us solve that problem. But then the majority of our intake is just inventions from our staff. And those ideas go through a peer review. They go through a commercialization council of subject matter experts in their field. Remember, we do everything from therapeutics to devices to software, to a lot in the omics space and the big data space. So we have to have subject matter experts in all of these areas available to us, and we don't staff them all. So we draw from our employees. And we have commercialization council, and we have an advisory board. That advisory board is industry leaders. That advisory board is typically made up of venture capitalists and successful entrepreneurs. So we make sure there's a real market. A great idea is not going to help us unless there's a commercial market for that idea.
Okay. One of the things that I find most interesting about each of your stories is that the shape and form of your innovation activity is radically different one from the other, right? Everything from sort of an all-in-one venture capitalist embedded within the, ideation all the way through commercialization. You're sort of like in the middle of this, you're conducting an experiment, an early stage experiment. And Dana, you've blown this out globally. How did your organization decide upon the format, and what were the iterations to get it kicked off? So, Gary, you guys started quite some time ago.
13 years ago.
Yeah. And Dana, when did you start the Global Works function?
7 years ago.
And how did you decide on that form?
We were experienced with doing innovation in large organizations in a variety of settings. Brought together, we had the opportunity to kind of do a greenfield space where our organization, Faurecia, challenged us to create the most world-class innovation center, and we went out and handpicked the talent, put together the facility that we wanted, and then spread it globally. And we picked locations around the world that we knew were the epicenter of trend from a technology standpoint, from a fashion standpoint, but just areas that were driving innovation and technology. And so we put our locations in those different regional settings.
Okay. Ken?
Yeah, and we started in 2010, so we are the youngest of the three. And so that probably also speaks to where we are as far as more of that early experiment stage. But I would say that what we essentially have this ability to lay in our stores. As you think about it, we're mocking things up all the time, and we look at something, and then we then pilot something in a store, and then we roll it out. And the same could be said within our own population of employees and our own benefits. We can mock something up, or an individual come with an idea that comes external to the organization, sometimes within. We will pilot, we'll create a mock-up, and then we'll see if it's able to be scaled. The difference is that once you scale it to an employee population, then it's a solution that really might have some value to other employers that haven't had the ability to go through that process. And so that's, for us, a tremendous opportunity.
So I'd like some rapid fire advice for that employee inside of a large organization who's trying to sell in the idea of an innovation center or an innovation activity. Who'd like to go first?
Keep the passion. You are an entrepreneur, an inventor, and that passion is going to get you over the goal. We've seen many ideas that are great ideas that don't have the passion and inventor fail. And it takes a lot more than just a great idea that's protectable.
I would agree. It's the great idea that is executable that's really important. It's the execution. But that's passion. But I would say it's also the passion of a champion within the organization. Now, we were fortunate because our champion who had the passion was our CEO, and then that's great when you can get that. But to me, one of the most important conversations that have occurred are the ones that occur when I leave. So you do the pitch, and then who's going to be there to continue on the conversation for you. So understanding within your organization the individuals who have a like passion about what your ultimate purpose is, which isn't finance. It's really, for us, disrupting healthcare and really being a catalyst for change with the health of the nation. And if you have folks who are wedded to that idea within the organization, they can be the champions, and that's really critical, I think.
Yeah, I mean, my thought is, you only have so many heartbeats, and make sure what you're working on is something that you love and you enjoy and you're passionate about it. And in my setting, and frankly, I'm inside a big company, but I feel like it's my business. And the guys I work with, the people I work with, are great. They're true professionals, and they're great colleagues to have. And we're setting out to do radical innovation and change the world for the automotive industry.
Thank you very much for joining us.